When I think about Noosphere, for me, the image that comes up is in an enmeshing around the Earth, that idea of moving from a living Earth to a thinking Earth. And that if there is this network that does encapsulate the globe, then each hub in that network, each light, is not only an individual, but it's a community of individuals. And those communities are not only speaking to each other verbally or through fiber optics, but they are influencing one another through thought. And that thought ultimately is a question of whether or not this is a positive endeavor, this is about the growth of humanity, or whether or not this is a conversation about only the dark path that we seem to be on today. And I choose the optimistic side.
I think about the Noosphere in terms of consciousness, in terms of subjective experience of being human, interconnected with other humans' subjective experience.
When I think of the Noosphere, I think of the global mind, the layer of mentality that has emerged that is essentially many human cerebral cortices glued together and merged by technology and tied with all of the data and material and information that has been sequestered externally in writing and other materials, and that is sort of the product of the human story. And it is essentially the mind of the global superorganism that has emerged.
The noosphere is the thought level or the thinking level, and I think for me you can see this most clearly in the internet. I have knowledge, you have knowledge, we get together, we can share that knowledge face to face, but because of the communication capacities that we have now and the ways we have to network with each other, I can have access to the knowledge of people that I've never met, who I probably will never meet.
I'm pretty sure that the first time people came up with the notion of atmosphere, there was all kind of discussion. What does that mean, atmosphere? It's just the air, it's just the clouds. Why do we need this concept of atmosphere? Well, now we have understood that all that air and these clouds and these winds, they're all connected and they just circulate around the whole globe. So the sphere is the idea, it covers the whole globe. So for me the noosphere is just like the cognitive version of the atmosphere. It's not the air that's circulating, it's the ideas, it's the information that are circulating, and that form, what's important is they form an integrated system.
For me, the word noosphere awakens a sense of an earth that thinks. This is Teilhard's words. So we have with James Lovelock and Lynn Margulis this amazing insight into the earth being a living cybernetic system. But Teilhard takes it further and says we are now on the verge of going from being a living planet to a thinking planet. That, to me, is the noosphere.
A global consciousness, a networked mind and sphere of which we are all a living part, that's all incredibly inspiring.
What it does provide for me is this global consciousness notion. There is something that we connect with, each of us individually, but also us in a context of relationship as part of a collective body, superorganism, and being connected through something larger than ourselves that we may be able to tune into, but most of us are learning how to tune out of.
I very much see the noosphere as an ecology of mind, so that layer of the very much, not only just the thinking layer, I know that was sort of Teilhard's word, but I think when we think of thinking, we often think of thinking in words and thoughts, but I think that the mental space includes all that we experience, right? Our feelings, in addition to our thoughts.
On one hand, it's a term that's supposed to be comparable to the biosphere. And the biosphere is the influence of life on Earth. So the noosphere is the influence of humans on Earth. There's a physical dimension to that. Our structures, our influence on the atmosphere, all of that. But there's also a mental dimension. The word is drawn from the Greek for mind. And so it acknowledges that there's a thinking dimension. And then it's there we get into interesting concepts such as global consciousness and that sort of thing.
So the noosphere to me really is something that began to develop with the first evolution of human symbolic communication. It's been developing, I think, for close to 2 million years. It didn't look like a language initially. It was much, much simpler, much more like ritual perhaps. But over 2 million years, not only has that system become more sophisticated, that is the communication that holds us together, but it's become an essential part of human development. Also, that symbolic niche is something that is not biologically passed on. It's passed on by itself, by being communicated, by being talked about, by sharing interpretive habits and stuff. But what that says is that we have biologically evolved to do this. We've evolved to be noospheric beings. We've evolved for 2 million years with brains that require this to be complete. For us to be a normal human being, to have human thoughts, it's already to be in a noosphere. It's just that the noosphere has enlarged and deepened and now become radically accelerated in the present time.